现在将录制本次会议。
Okay, just received Chinese, but okay. Can everybody see my screen? I hope so.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, sweet. Cool. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for attending today's webinar. Our topic for today
Sorry,
is...
Dave.
Yes, chat.
I don't see your screen.
You don't? Okay, let me reshare.
Thanks.
Try that again. How about now?
There we go. Good stuff. Thank
Everybody
you.
happy? All right, fantastic. All right. So again, thank you very much for everybody making time available for Hytera's webinar today. The topic, of course, is Hytera push to talk over cellular, in other words, referred to as PoC. All right, so I'm going to jump into it straight away. All right. We're going to talk about the overview, the PoC solution, and then we're going to skim over some case studies. I believe there is more case studies relevant in South Africa than that this presentation provides. But okay, so I assume most of you guys should already be familiar with what PoC is. In case you don't, what is PoC? PoC is a PTT service over cellular networks. In other words, you deploy a PoC server within a 3G or 4G environment, typically MTN or Vodacom, and then you get a specific APN data path to that PoC server within that network, and then you will have the capability of rendering voice, video, and data services over that. It's one-on-one or one-to-many push-to-talk half-duplex sort of services. All right. The term instant communications, it is still based on the network's best efforts. In other words, if you're in a highly congested area where there's a lot of cell phone users, your communication will be a little bit more delayed than typically that you'll experience on a less empty sort of cell tower. But this is what PoC is in general. So if we quickly just touch on, if we compare PoC solutions to your typical PMR solution, specifically narrowband Tetra and DMR solutions. All right, the most biggest advantage of PoC solutions is obviously it is you don't require any existing frequency because it is reliant on a third-party network such as MTN or Vodacom. That is the biggest benefit of PoC, and obviously with that you get the national instant coverage. So you don't have to worry about having base stations deployed in specific areas. You'll have national coverage everywhere. I think Vodacom and MTN today's times are actually 99% covering of South Africa, depending on a few problem sites. The other benefits, of course, if you compare that infrastructure cost to a PMR solution infrastructure cost, you can say that the PMR's maintenance is a little bit more complicated because it consists of a lot more infrastructure. However, you have to remind the fact that even though your PoC solution resides on a third-party network, it doesn't mean that that third-party network is not subjected to outages or problems that you also typically find on any other PMR solution. All right, it's just outside of your control. Okay, that is that. So that if you compare the two, those are the things you're going to look at. If we talk about what services that you can actually obtain from PoC versus PMR, it is obviously that PoC adds everything that you see there in red, which is typically your video capability. You have your dispatch, which is your video dispatching capability as well. And then, of course, your data functionality in terms of multimedia information, voice, picture, and voice transmission. What it doesn't say is also you have the capability, if you've got your APN locked, not only to the PoC server, but also mainly to an internet breakout for some functionality from that network. You also have the capability of launching applications that require standard internet through that network, which will then function as database search entries. For example, maybe you're deploying this PoC solution for a customer that's got an in-house to do task list or application they're required to do their daily operations, then this PoC solution can do that as well via an application on an Android device and so forth. If you compare it to obviously the PMR, which we're all very familiar with, it is voice and voice only, and obviously with a bit of data we get short messages and GPS positions and all of that. But the main function difference is you get voice and high capacity data through PoC than you don't get on PMR. Reason being, it's a broadband network versus a narrowband network, so it speaks for itself in that regard. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got any questions, please do interrupt me or type it into the text messages, and I'll try and answer those questions as and when they come up. Right. The next one is obviously the reliability of PoC and PMR. And I think on this one, the reliability of PoC and PMR are pretty much equal. They are both reliant. They both, in terms of the terminals themselves, yes, the PoC devices are a little bit smaller and they're lighter weight, but what is 100-gram difference between a PMR terminal versus a PoC terminal? So in terms of reliability, depends on the network. Yes, your MTN and your Vodacoms of today have got certain redundancy in place to make sure that the network is operational of 99.99%. But other than that, the terminals itself are pretty much equal in terms of the standard that they can do. All right, so no real problem there. If we look at who needs PoC, well, the answer is everybody needs PoC. All right, everybody can utilize PoC. The only difference that you want to ask your customer in terms of a need analysis as why PoC versus PMR is certainly, do you want to rely on third-party networks? Do you need instant communication? Are you struggling for budget? Is it non-mission critical? Because we're not talking about mission critical networks such as Tetra compared to this. This is still best effort. So your call setup time is still anything between 300 to 1,000 milliseconds, depending on the congestion of that specific site. However, any sort of industry can make use of PoC solutions, specifically the energy solution, transportation, logistics, specifically courier companies. They are very active in requiring PoC because they travel large distances and they need the instant coverage. Security firms as well, security companies, patrolling, they don't necessarily have the funds to invest in large PMR networks, so they're relying on PoC. To do that for them. So it is a very entry-level sort of solution for medium to small businesses. I will never deploy a PoC solution for any large-scale operations because it will simply not handle that amount of connectivity and requirement. And of course, you would require for large organizations typically is mission critical criteria, which the PoC services, or specifically this PoC services, does not render. We're not talking about our Hytera's NCS today. That is a different topic, but we're talking about PoC alone. So if we quickly rehash what is the benefits of PoC, obviously the first one is free from the limitation of frequency resource. So yes, you don't have to pay ICASA for it. It doesn't mean that MTN and Vodacom doesn't. So that's probably already worked into your data cost for the SIM card that the company provides you. So its frequency limitation is not really going away, but it, in a sense, is not your responsibility or the owner of the network. Then, of course, it reduces the investment of the network. Of course, there's very little infrastructure that you do require for a PoC solution. It's basically a server or two servers or many more servers, depending on the amount of users and terminals. That's all you require, and SIM cards. Large capacity for group and systems, yes. For our system can handle 20,000, 30,000 subscribers at any given time, depending on the server solution. If you're looking at 20,000 subscribers on an active platform, it obviously consists of 15 servers or more, depending on your solution. But regardless, large capacity. You increase the mobility of the workforce, of course, because you are no longer limited by the coverage of just PMR in terms of a geographical area, because national PMR solutions are rather expensive to deploy than that of the existing network. Flexible organizational management, of course, that is because you are the owner of a PoC platform, you have the capability of controlling who sees what, who's got what rights. Are you a dealer? Are you a customer sort of in this platform? So if you as a dealer of Hytera buys a platform and starts renting it out as a network to your subscribers or your customers, those people can also become a dealer within your network to then on-sell that to other people as well. So it's complete organizational control of that. And of course, the powerful and versatility data functionality comes with broadband. The moment you have access to large portion of bandwidth, you can do a lot with it. Application, data centers, videos, you name it. It's all there for you. So those are the 6 main benefits of PoC. And that's why PoC is extremely popular in South Africa in today's times. That being said, I also want to mention that Hytera specifically is not the cheapest PoC solution in South Africa. It's also not the most expensive. We have gone for quality over quantity. In other words, our solution is high quality. Our terminals are rugged and IP68 or a little bit low, depending on the versatility. So our devices are made to be used in any sort of environment and doesn't necessarily break. Hence I said that is that we've received a lot of customers that jumped on the bandwagon of earlier adopters of PoC solutions within the industry that are deployed on less quality devices. I'm not going to speak more about our competitors. However, we found that most of our customers comes from a already existing PoC environment where they said, you know what, we can no longer handle the amount of repairs and returns we receive from those services. So that's why Hytera's PoC solution is becoming even more popular, because of that quality versus quantity that we are playing at. All right, so the other question I also get a lot from my customers that we speak about is saying, why can't I just use a smartphone? Why do I need to have a dedicated PoC device? Well, the difference firstly is that apart from this slide where it shows you the comparison from our PNC 550, which is a smartphone similar PoC terminal versus a normal iPhone or whatever. The other thing you also have to calculate is the fact that the cost of a standard cell phone compared to Hytera's PoC 370, PNC 370 or 680, there's a big difference in the cost. All right, so that is the other reason. All right, and apart from the fact is the one thing I always like to say to my customers is one, that our devices are rugged. Your cell phone might be IP68, but it's not mil-spec 1080G. So if you drop your cell phone on the carpet, on tiles, it breaks. It's more expensive. Typically, a cell phone is anything between 12,000 and 30,000 rand, depending on the model that you've picked or the latest Samsung or iPhone, whatever. They are not designed for that sort of rugged environment where it is. The other thing is, if I want to have a PoC terminal on my cell phone, I first have to unlock my screen, then I have to find the app, then I have to log into the app, then I have to wait for the app to connect, and then I get the application, a software PTT button to actually PTT, right? Versus an actual dedicated PoC terminal. It's got a PTT button on the side. You simply press it and you get on with your work, and that's the difference. All right, that so if we quickly rehash what's the main difference is that a PoC terminal is not as expensive as a cell phone. It is more rugged and it's got a dedicated PTT button, and of course some of them come with bigger batteries that will last longer in terms of that of a cell phone. The cell phone often has additional background tasks which drains the battery of your cell phone, even if you're not even using the main screen of your cell phone, whereas the PoC terminal has got less background activity, so it's more focused on actually being available to use as intended and not drain the battery unnecessarily. So those are the main differences from why you shouldn't go for a smartphone. We can go on scenarios as to why, but those are the ones I tend to mention for now. If we move on, we're going to go to the PoC solution itself, Hytera PoC. All right, so we're going to quickly on the PoC terminal side. Most of these terminals are available as of right now. It's been launched. PNC 560 not available yet, but we're going. It is going to be towards the end of 2021. There's also been certain delays with specific resource chips in global. It affects it affects everybody, so it might be delayed a little bit longer. But regardless, with the PNC 360 with the Cat1 terminal, if you're wondering what a Cat1 terminal means, that Cat1 terminal is just a category, whereas this device has the capability of higher data throughput than that of these other contenders that might be in a category 3 or whatever. So you have a device that's got a far bigger bandwidth capability. If we go through the specifications quickly, here's the PNC 370, right? Straightforward, half keypad, nice screen. It's Android based, so you can have applications Droid on it. It's Android 5.1. It's not the latest Android. It's got a micro SIM, of course, military spec 810G, so shock and vibration. It is IP55, so it's not the highest IP68 rating that you can get, but this device is splash proof and dust proof. It gives you capability of GPS, BDS, and GLONASS, and of course Bluetooth capability. So, and of course your Wi-Fi 2.4 only on 802.11b, G, and N. So it's not the latest AC. All right. However, this device is quite popular, and this device is a 3G and 4G only. If you look at the bottom here, it's got WCDMA band 1 and, of course, FDD LTE band 1 and across. All right. This means that this device is not capable of going on 2G environments and stuff like that. So why would you want that? Is typically our cell phone networks of today actually still have infrastructure of 4G, 3G, 2G, and so forth. So you give you the capability of, as and when your signal gets lower and lower and lower, or you increase the distance from your cell phone tower, you can log on to the other platforms such as 2G. And the reason is 2G's got a bigger coverage than 3G, 3G's got a bigger coverage than 4G, and that's basically the difference. So if you look at 4G compared to 5G, just for interest sake, 4G typically covers anything between 1 to 4 kilometers per high site, whereas a 5G node does 700 meters. So that's the big difference. So the more data capability you have, the less coverage range you get out of it. So this device is between 3G and 4G, just for interest sake. Right. If we move on, this is how the device looks: left, front, right, and back. It's got a cover that can be simply clicked off with the battery inside that can be removed. Very much similar to the olden cell phone days of Nokia, where you have a cover, remove it, and you've got that tiny little battery that you can remove and replace. It is the same functionality like that. And of course, an abundance of accessories, of course, because it's also Bluetooth enabled. Your accessories are also outside of the scope of Hytera. In other words, you can have audio accessories, inner ear, doesn't really matter what. All of them are compatible because of the Bluetooth functionality. However, you have the hardware clip, USB cable, earpieces, multi-dock station, and so forth. If we go to the 380 specifications, this is the higher end of these sort of PoC terminals. You'll notice that it's got a full keypad. Okay. Battery is 4,000 milliamps. So on a typical 5590 sort of working environment, you get 24 hours out of this device. It is on Android 7.1, so you can have more latest applications on top of it. Just bear in mind, when you do explore the application rollout for these devices, bear in mind that the screen and navigation is limited. One, the screen is very small and it's not touch screen. All right, so your Android UI is a little bit different in terms of navigating than that of a standard cell phone touchscreen. So when the app developers do develop an application for this sort of terminal, just make sure that they account for these sort of limitations within the device itself. You'll also notice that this device is capable of handling the GSM, the WCDMA, and both TDD and FDD of LTE. Right, so this device can carry a standard SIM card if you want to use it as a cell phone. It can also have a SIM card in that can migrate from GSM frequency, which is your HSDPA or lower, and of your 3G and 4G capability. It is an IP67 terminal, so it is relatively waterproof. You can drop it into a puddle about a meter deep for 30 minutes, for example. The military spec 18G again. All of our devices are like that, giving it you the rugged and high quality of our devices. Bluetooth 4.1 doesn't really mention all the other specifications. It's pretty much straightforward that we've seen before. This device it comes with a nano SIM, not a micro SIM, so it's a different format. So just take note of that. Then, of course, how this terminal looks. Right, from left, back, front, it's got a micro USB at the bottom, charging things, LED indicator, panic button on the top. It's got a camera at the back. All right, 5 megapixel camera on the back. So and we mentioned there the Pro only. All right, so there is two sort of different hardware rollouts of this PNC380. We've got the Pro and the standard version, and the difference is that the Pro comes with a video camera, whereas the standard does not. And that's just to give companies the versatility in the terminal, that they want functionality, but they want to buy the top of the range because they might not use video communication in PoC. They might, only certain individuals want to use PoC video for that specific criteria. So these are the versatility. Then, of course, an abundance of accessories. I'm not going to linger longer on this. All right. If we quickly do the comparison between the PNC 380 Basic versus the Pro, you'll see that the Pro's got the camera. All right, it's got video fidelity of 720 at 30 frames per second. It conforms to those sort of codecs, MP4, H.264, VP8, H.263, those are the standard ones. And of course, it's got NFC and flash capability, whereas the basic one is just a voice only, all right? But then both of these devices conform to all of the networks, sort of from GSM to 2G, 3G, all of them. So CDMA, TD-SCDMA, all of that is available on this network. This device is also capable of your higher bandwidth in terms of Wi-Fi interface, so 5 gigs there as well. Again, not the latest AC, but also BGN, so it's sufficient on a 100 megabytes per second sort of Wi-Fi link, depending on the signal. So that's sufficient still. Okay, nice little speaker here for 2 watts, so it's nice and clear to hear. The rest are pretty much straightforward in terms of functionality. If we look at the one that we are going to launch still, the PNC360, all right, you'll notice that this one does not support CDMA and WCDMA. So what does that mean? This is a 4G device only, right? All right, it does have an option for GPS. Some hardware configuration comes with GPS, some does not. Okay, but this device is also not on Android. It is an RTOS, right? So it's not an Android-based device. But again, all the other functionalities are capable. However, the speaker is a little bit more powerful. It is a 3-watt speaker, IP67 rating, and then of course you've got those sort of standard availability of what Hytera offers from our terminals. Micro SIM on this one. All right. If we do a comparison quickly on these devices, it will quickly just show you what the capabilities of them are. All right. So the PNC360 is a very entry-level device. It doesn't even have Wi-Fi embedded into it. It doesn't even have NFC. Doesn't have a camera. So this is a far more entry-level terminal. All right, for those users that purely wants to use it for, voice and voice only. Doesn't really have application capability, stuff like that. So those are sort of like the ranges of our terminals on this sort of hardware platform. Any questions, we can obviously share the specifications and whatever that is available on these. If we move on our PNC 550, this is the one that looks like a smartphone, acts like a smartphone. It's got the same specifications as a smartphone. So everything that you've got in your cell phone capability today, this device can do, apart from the fact that it's got a dedicated PTT button on the left. And of course, it's got a typical 4,000 milliamp battery, so it's a little bit bigger than others. And it's got the military spec. So it is still a rugged device, and it's IP68. So waterproof, dustproof, and all of that. But this device is a little bit higher quality than that compared to the standard SIM card, a cell phone. If you want to compare this sort of ruggedness with a cell phone, you need to buy those Caterpillar sort of cell phone covers or rugged devices that are drop tested. This is the same sort of environment like that. Okay. This device is extremely popular. It's been selling quite well. This is sort of like the layout of the device. If you haven't seen it, it looks exactly like a cell phone. It's even got the pop-up cover at the back where you can remove the internal battery, much like the olden, like I said before, cell phone days, Nokia and all of that did that. Comes with a front and back camera. So the front one for if you want to take nice selfies or video confirmations, 8 megapixel, on the back one is 30 megapixels. Not real difference in terms of fidelity of both of these that can really be noticeable. If you look at the specifications, of course, this device can conform to all bands, all right, from cell phone all the way across 2G, 3G, 4G, all of them, right? It's got your Wi-Fi capability of only 2.4 gigahertz. It's got Bluetooth 4. Nothing spectacular there. The card slot, it comes with 2 nano SIM cards, all right, and a 1 micro SD TF card slot. So yes, you can add in multiple. You can add a 1 nano, 1 SIM card. You can add another sort of SD card that conforms to the nano SIM card sort of size, and of course an additional micro SD storage. So you can increase the storage of this device. It runs on Android 9. We can actually upgrade the Android to the latest version. And then, of course, the processing power is an 8-core, 1.8 gigahertz. That's very similar to that of a cell phone capability. You've got the ROM of 3 gigabytes, or you can expand it to even more with a SD card. All right, and of course the ROM of 32. So those are the standard specification of this device. Again, an abundance of accessories, including a nice little ring PTT if you're on a bike, on a motorcycle. You don't really have access to pushing the terminal in your pocket. There's nice little flexibility on that. One thing that also comes with most of our devices is the fact that we've got video optimization in terms of anti-trembling. All right, this is a significant difference in terms of video transmission. Only the devices that are capable of video transmission has this anti-trembling into it. It is a software algorithm with a gyroscope built in. All right, so in other words, the gyroscope gives us the capability of what sort of in which direction the floor is of the device, so the device always knows where is down and up and left and right. And then, of course, the difference is with anti-trembling, you can actually make out the details in a footage where you either gallop or walk or run, whatever the case may be. I don't think people really gallop. I think it's more horses, but you get the idea, running versus walking. And anti-trembling allows you for a more stabilized picture. That means you can actually make out the letters or or number plate or whatever the case might be for that. So that's a nice little advantage. We also have the PDC 550, right? Dual mode. It's a multi-mode terminal for DMR only. All right. So this terminal can do LTE, DMR, GSM, 3G, 4G, GPS, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth. All right. It is a smartphone and a DMR terminal built into one on a nice large touch screen. All right. Here's are the dimensions of this terminal. It's got a nice emergency button at the top. It's got the infinity knob. So if you're very familiar with Hytera's multi-mode terminals, this is exactly the same, apart from the fact that it is DMR only. There is no Tetra version of this device, only DMR. Okay, so you can slide the battery off, and then you've got additional card slots that you can add onto SIM cards and SD cards and so forth. If you go for the specifications quickly, again, it's an Android-based device. It's got touchscreen. It is got your Wi-Fi capability, Bluetooth, GPS capability, IP68, of course, military standard, across all the frequencies. It can even do, what I don't mention here is we can even do VHF as well. So this shows only UHF. We also have a VHF derogative of this device. So, and of course with that, DMR also does analog as well. Okay, I'm not going to really go through all of these details again, but we can make this presentation available if you want to read the specifications. Then we're moving on to our new mobile MNC 580, which is the mobile version of our PoC terminals. All right, this device is typically installed within a vehicle, all right, and it gives you that nice big screen on top. It's got your microphone jack port, it's got the emergency button, it's got nice navigation buttons, up, down, exit, and obviously answer and not answer. At the back, you've got your power connector and your GPS antenna. So this literally just connects to the battery of the vehicle or a desktop station where this device can then obviously be connected to. It's got an external audio port, USB, and of course a nice powerful speaker. If you go through the specifications, this device is capable of doing 4G, 3G, and GSM, GPRS, and Edge. In other words, your 2G, HTTP, and all of that. All right. It's built on Android 7, so yes, you can have application on top of it. You can also have Google navigation, comes with Android straightforward, so you can have navigation in your vehicle as well. If we all use our cell phones these days, back in the day when I was a rep, we used TomTom and those Garmin devices, so this is very similar to that. You have navigation within the vehicle as well. Okay, these are all your ports that are capable of handling. It's got your Wi-Fi interface. It's got your speaker of 4 watt, maximum of 6 watt. All right. There's not a real IP rating, so don't submerge this device. Then it won't work. Right. We don't expect you to drive a vehicle into a river, but it is South Africa and it has happened before. So yes, this device is not waterproof. All right. It is not. Those are specifications of it, very straightforward, and of course it's got a touch screen, so it's very easy to navigate and stuff. There is also a functionality in there that can lock the screen from prohibiting it from being operated while driving or moving due to the gyroscope. So you can either have that enabled or disabled if you don't want the driver specifically messing around with the touchscreen and not paying attention to the road. So those are the sort of functionalities that comes with that. The MSC in this of how we can accessorize this device, obviously it comes with a power cable directly that connected directly into the battery terminal of the vehicle. If it is a large truck, obviously you need an inverter that takes it from 24 to 12, all right? But it also comes with a car charger if you want. If there's still cars that comes with cigarette lighter ports, or it's still capable, and of course it's got a standard adapter that you can just plug into a wall socket if you want to deploy it on a desktop sort of a base station mounting sort of platform versus the car. You can also have this car either connected to the ignition on or permanently on. So either the device is permanently on and uses the battery of the vehicle, or only switches on when the vehicle is switched on. So those are the options that you can install there. It is very easy to do. You simply just splice into the positive and negative of your vehicle, and then Bob's your uncle, it works very easily. If you connect it to the ignition cable, it's a little bit different, but very easy to install. Right. I presume there is no questions on our terminals, right? So we're going to move on to the PoC platform. If you're not familiar with the PoC platform, the PoC platform, Hytera High Torque Deployment Architecture, we've got two sort of platforms. We've got a PoC 3000 and a PoC 6000 platform, all right? The PoC 3000 is your entry-level terminal PoC platform. It consists of not having the capability of interconnecting to third-party networks. It's still in development to have the PoC 3000 do that. However, there's also a limitation in the amount of concurrent users on PoC 3000 versus PoC 6000. So those are the fundamental difference. If we look at the architecture quickly, this solution can literally be deployed on two servers, all right, two hardware servers. So if you look at the red block, it's the PoC server and the network management SOP server, all right, which is two network elements of this architecture that can coexist on one single hardware server. And of course, on the other side, the green block is the ULP, the Unified Communication Server, or what we call PoC, PUC, and obviously your recording MR PS server can exist in another one. That being said, sorry, I forgot to mute my phone here, sorry. That being said, this is limited, this sort of hardware configuration on server is limited to 1,000 users only. So the rule of thumb is as you add more users to the platform, you need to add another server. So after these two servers, it gives you 1,000 user capability in terms of performance. If you want to add more, you need to add another server. If you want to have the server solution redundant, in other words, duplicated, then of course you're walking away with a minimum of a 10 sort of server solution to have each and every element of this deployment redundant, in other words, a duplication of it. Then you can look at a 10 server platform. So it's extremely scalable and versatile, and depending on what you want to have duplicated. Typically our customers always opt for redundancy, but they don't go full redundancy, so they maybe do the PoC and the NMS server redundant, so they duplicate that, and they maybe have an additional MRSP server that does the redundancy for the recording as well in case those fall. But you can have this deployed on the two server only. This can also be a cloud sort of hosted environment versus hardware. If it is hosted environment where you virtualize the server, then your hosted environment must simply just give you virtualization servers of 5 each. So then each of these network elements, such as PoC, NMS, ULP, PUC, and MRS, exists on its own virtualized server. You cannot have a PoC and NMS coexist on a one single virtualized server. The performance is not good enough. All right. So those are the difference. So when you do speak to an hosted environment to have this deployed, then you're looking at a little bit more of virtualization resources than that of a typical hardware requirement. That being said, it's simply then deploy. So these servers are either then deployed into a hosted environment that is connected to your network of choice, being MTN or Vodacom, all right, via an IP interface, obviously firewall, and from there you have then your dispatcher and your dealer and your customers sort of scenario. So if you're the owner of the PoC platform, you are the owner, and then you have sub dealers within your organization, and of course direct customers. And you, as from the administrator perspective, can see all terminals active. You can receive all analytics. You can see who has been using the terminal the most, what data usage has been happening. However, this is not a billing system. All right, so you will not receive billing information of how much it will cost that specific user. Most likely, your MVNO contract with your network operator will typically sell you a certain amount of data per SIM card, and that will cost you a certain amount. And then after that, they can give you ad hoc billing. But that sort of billing requirement is something that the network does, and not this platform. And then, of course, from the wireless network line, the bottom on the terminals, you have the capability of either having these terminals have a Wi-Fi interface or Internet interface directly to the PoC server via a different route, or you can do it via the SIM card embedded into it. All right, those are the two sort of options that you can run your PoC architecture on. All right, very forward, very straightforward, very easy. And if in terms of the services that you can get, the abundance of services, I'm not really going to talk about the voice services capability, because it's exactly the same as that of PMR network. It does exactly the same thing: private call, group call, dynamic group, emergency call, full duplex, half duplex, you name it, can have that. What you add an extra, depending on the platform and the terminals that you are available, of course, is your multimedia messages, videos, video group. You've got your video pull and video forward. So if you're interconnecting this platform to an existing CCTV footage, you can actually have that CCTV footage pushed or forwarded to your respective terminals in a group call or individual call via your PoC solution. You've got your standard command and dispatch functionality, which is a web-based portal that gives access to the ULP server, which then you have the temporary group capability, voice dispatching, video dispatching, of course, remote monitoring, GPS real-time track, and GPS history track. Of course, this is also if you've got the MPRS server in it, obviously everything is being recorded, from GPS positions to text messages to pictures to video to obviously voice. Everything is then recorded and then stored in your localized storage, or you can have that storage cloud-based. It's your prerogative how you want to deploy it. Then, of course, the service operational management capabilities on the NMS. Also, again, it's a web portal interface directly into that NMS server, either via internet breakout or via the SIM card APN, doesn't really matter. And that will give you operational management, agent management, company management. In other words, you can because you can subdivide this platform into various dealers. So this dealer operational management has a certain amount of users that you can add onto it, and there's this limitation. For example, if your entire platform limitation is 10,000 users, you can then subdivide each dealer within your organization to only add an additional 1,000 on top of that, which then gives you the capability of having 10 dealers that sells the solution for you. All right, so you can complete control of what rights and how they can do it. Group management, user management, PO management, and those data statistics, data and log queries, and voice and video recording. All of that is functional and very easy to read and obtain information from our NMS. This is how it looks like. This is the network management functions. In terms of the web portal, you simply log in and you've got all your statistics there that you want to possibly know of your platform. Data statistics, how many new users, quota apply. It doesn't really matter what you, this gives you the complete freedom of how your network is operating, how many active subscribers, how many passive, where is your high points and data usage, where's your low points, and so forth. All right, very straightforward. If we go to the dispatch side, we're all familiar with dispatching. So again, user platform based on a web portal, Hytera, or if it's PoC 6000, will utilize the Smart One sort of interface. You will have the capability of a Google online or offline map. Right, you have voice dispatching, video dispatching, GPS tracking, and message services. All of that very easily. You even have the functionality of geofencing if you want to have the device operate in a specific area, not allowed to leave. All this functionality comes into play with this sort of dispatch platform. All right. Just to show you how the Hytera app looks, all right, it's got a nice little blue PTT button at the bottom on the software version. So even though you've got the hardware version here, we've got a software version button as well. The reason for this is specifically developed for the multi-mode terminals as well. And the multi-mode terminals gives you the capability of, if you are in a DMR network, the physical PTT button is for the DMR network or Tetra network, and the soft PTT button is specifically for the PoC network. However, if you typically power of our multi-modes, if you migrate from a DMR or Tetra coverage, and you're outside of that coverage, and you move into obviously the PoC environment, then the hardware PT button automatically defaults to the PTT PoC side. So it's very seamless communication in that regard. Then of course you've got your video services where you can start either having a full duplex or a half duplex voice video conversation. So the moment you press the PTT button, then obviously it will transmit your video feed of your terminal, and it will obviously start receiving the other video feed information from the dispatcher or other users within the group. You've got your multimedia, very straightforward. You've got your contact list. In other words, that contact list is determined by the subscriber management within the NMS. All right. It is not that you can simply just add contacts onto the terminal itself. It doesn't work that way. It is controlled from the NMS side. It's just basically groups there, and then of course you've got your small screen version of it is compatible in terms of smaller screen applications. All right. We can talk about the roadmap, not really important, but we've also launched what we call the Hytera all-in-one station, which is built on PoC 6000 plus NMS, and I'll talk about that just now. All right. So everything I've mentioned before, we also have an additional what we call a Hytera all-in-one solution based on PoC 6000. Obviously, there is limitations to this. All right, in terms of the concurrent users, it is existing on a very small sort of PC hardware platform. As you can see there, it's very easy. It's very easy to deploy, and all you need is a direct LAN interface into your operator of choice to have this working. You can even have this working on a Wi-Fi only environment. So you can buy the Hytera all-in-one solution and deploy it into an organization that's got broadband capabilities across their network. So then you are not reliant on a third-party network capability. You're only doing this over a WAN or a Wi-Fi broadband connection. So then all you need to do is have this connected to your router, and the router will propagate that or your AP nodes across your organization, and then you'll have PoC interfaces across. And this is very similar to how we deploy our rapid deployment solutions over our iMesh. It's exactly the same scenario. We've got this connected only to a Wi-Fi broadband capability. You will see there is a limitation, of course, in terms of the amount of concurrent users that you can handle and the price associated to that. Don't quote me on these prices. These prices are simply indicative and is subject to the rate of exchange. So don't get excited or discouraged by the prices you see here. All right. This package includes server hardware. It's got the database. It consists of the PoC and NMS applications. It's got the relative licenses. Not supported. It's got no interconnection, so you cannot interconnect this to an existing PoC platform or any other PMR solution. It's not that of a PoC 6000. There is no third-party customization, so this is a proprietary sort of the thing. No dispatching capability. It's just for voice. Very easily, very fast, and of course no third-party terminal support, so you can only use Hytera and Hytera only terminals on this specific one. On the other server-based solutions like PoC and 3000, then it is based on open standards, so then there you can use any sort of terminal you wish. All right, we just need to make sure that the application of those working on third-party terminals. So it requires a little bit more testing before you tell your customer, yes, no problem, you can use any sort of terminal on that. Right. So if we talk about the case studies, PoC is extremely popular. It's been adopted across the world in all systems, from Asia to Russia to America to South Africa, and this is not the latest updated one, but it is increasing in popularity as and when every year goes past when it's deployed. All right, from telecommunication company in the Middle East, which is a large deployment of it, specifically to South African deployed solutions, much like Altron's FleetCor's got a PoC solution now. Various other dealers such as yourself has also got PoC platforms all right now. Like I mentioned before, we have a lot of customers that comes back from us having experienced poor performance and poor device quality from other manufacturers, comes onto the PoC platform of Hytera. So it's extremely popular in terms of that regard. Telecommunication company in the Middle East, like I said before, they've adopted it very easily. Low startup cost. Typically, you will find that if you deploy a PoC solution, you most likely get your return on investment anything between 3 and 5 years, depending on your subscriber growth. So if you want to play in the PoC environment, there is a return on investment over those sort of periods that you can achieve. We also find a lot of the energy companies, specifically, again, this is Middle East side because of the large deployment there of why it is so popular there. They can even use our body-worn cameras as PoC devices as well. Right, function the same. Put a SIM card in there, put the application on there, and then you've got a body-worn camera functioning as a PoC device as well. All right. Here is a solution in terms of energy. How they've done it there. They want to increase the functionality of a engineer sitting in the control room, and then simply has his technicians on site that he can now video assist, so making him more effective than not actually being physically at per site. He can now assist all field technicians with engineering skills. So this has been extremely popular in cell phone companies. MTN and Vodacom has also adopted this functionality for their own teams. Eskom is using this, and of course other companies in other areas. If we talk about the deployment, you either have a cloud deployment solution or an on-premise deployment, depending on how you want to run it. However, so from a terminal perspective, you've got the dual mode terminals, you've got PoC radios, you've got accessories. From the operator side, it can either be cloud, data package, or LTE network. Your Hytera platform comes with Hytalk commercial marker, Hytalk Pro, or mission critical. All right, we're not talking about mission critical PoC today, but it is an option. All right. Your solution can be third party in terms of the network. Distribution can be either Hytera partners or operational partners. It depends on how you as an individual dealer wants to make use of this. But it's either on-premise or cloud solution. All right. That's it. Any questions, guys? Or girls? Was it informative? Are you guys familiar with it?
Thank you, Ray. It was very good. I don't know if there's any questions, guys. Frankly, please also feel free to, if you don't want to do a voice question, you can also type a question. And also maybe if there's questions after the session that you wanted to maybe ask, you are also free to email myself or Ray, and we'll gladly respond to any of these. Also, if you guys do see any opportunities for any customers that are interested in our PoC solution or wants to invest in buying the platform themselves, please feel free to contact us. We'll gladly assist with any of these requirements.
Nice weather we're having, huh? Tough crowd.
Ray, you got us in hysterics, channel.
All right. This
Frank,
chat?
I think you must just check your WhatsApp quickly, please. Sorry, Ray.
My WhatsApp? No, I didn't receive anything, man.
Let me. I think Chad sent it to me. Let me have a look here.
It's your messenger.
Chad's wanting to know where the sandwiches are.
I'll post it for you. I'll make it here and I'll post it for you from Pretoria all the way to where you are. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll do a screenshot of the sandwich. So if there's any requirements you guys have, please feel free to contact us. We've got a white paper as well that is very detailed about PTT over cellular. So yeah, I mean, if there's any requirements or any opportunities that you guys want to bring to our attention to work with you, you are more than welcome to do so. We're always open to help and assist where we can. But yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions, then we will conclude today's webinar. Thank you very much again for making time available. I hope it was informative. Mrs. Pinar, you want to ask something?
No, I was just going to say thank you.
Ah,
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks all.
All right, cool. Enjoy, guys.
Cheers.
Thank you guys. Have a good week. Cheers. Bye.
You too.
Thanks, guys. Cheers. Catch you next one.